Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for November 30th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 335. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI from the future, we're going to be talking about the following 10 articles. I sometimes ponder. Anyway, this is Non Sequitur News, and so sometimes we diverge when we're talking about the news. This is an intro, so I should probably just read the 10 articles, right?
That would be the way to start the show.
That is the sentient AI from the future. So we're going to talk about these 10 articles together. BK and Popeye sued for labor law violations. You can take a space selfie. Wicked at Universal Studios, Orlando specifically. All aluminum skis, a vegetable mix recall. We almost have one of those every show. Potential hiding in your gadgets. Time to leap forward in accuracy. Time is going to leap forward in accuracy. Okay. No salary jobs, return fraud, and suing ExxonMobil and Chevron over plastics, which will probably not go anywhere. But we'll talk about it. Everything is powered by ohmTown.com, so go over there and become a citizen. It's really easy. And then you can mess around with stuff. I am working on the site right now, so let me know if there are any problems. Thank you very much. See you on the other side. All right, Aru. Welcome to the show, Sentient AI from the future.
Hello, Mayor Watt.
Thanks for co-hosting, as usual. Let's get into it. The first article is over in Non Sequitur News. Burger King and Popeye's franchise is fined for child labor law violations. It's the Hyundai of fast food, I guess. The owners of Burger King and Popeye's franchises in Massachusetts have been fined for child labor violations, and the office of the Massachusetts AG said that it issued more than $2 million in citations against one operator.
Ouch.
Wow. The U.S. has seen a rise in child labor violations in recent years. I'm sure it does not coincide with the rise of sociopathy, but that's okay. We'll end up discussing this as time goes on. The Massachusetts Attorney General has fined the owners of multiple Burger King and Popeye's franchises for violating child labor laws. But it says multiple, it's fined owners. Okay, so there's probably a conglomeration of owners that own a bunch of different Burger King and Popeyes
like they might
franchises.
have a franchise group or something.
Yeah. So Katie Belovic and Natalie Musumeci, I think is how they pronounce her last name. I may pronounce it incorrectly. You can send me an email. Anyway, so let's see what it says here. We might have really gotten to the nuts and bolts of it. It says Campbell's office alleged that the franchise operator assigned minors to work outside of legally permitted hours and more than the 9-hour limit that 16 and 17-year-olds can work under state law.
I'm actually surprised they can work that long. That's a pretty long shift for an adult.
That's a daily limit, 9 hours. So, and the way that they tend to treat this is if you call in sick, you are screwed. You're not going to get any hours because, you're harming their business, except that you have to be a downright sociopath to sit there and have 16 and 17-year-olds, which are still going through high school, working 9-hour daily limit shifts. But who knows? Maybe they're only working once a week, right? And they want to work that long because, they actually have bargaining power in getting a job at 16 or 17.
No, they're probably working and funding their family's existence if they're working that many hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of how I see it too. And then, but the owners, I think, that take advantage of this type of situation are problematic. I think it's sociopathic to sit there and have, and knowingly or unknowingly, right, have a 16 or 17-year-old working 9-hour daily shifts. It's kind of a sad situation. What is the solution? Really depends the context of this type of exploitation. Burger King's
Make it criminal, it'll stop pretty quickly.
right, but the kids, and these are 16 and 17-year-old
I mean, against the
kids,
business operators.
right? But the problem is that these kids might actually be supporting their family, or they're outright supporting themselves because their family is negligent, and so they need that job. And so what ends up happening is they're rather exploited by the business owner, because the business owner, and I've had this conversation, they're offering up a position. They're giving you an opportunity so magnanimously, there isn't anything exploitive about it. No. No. Shh. Anyway, representatives for Northeast Foods did not immediately respond to a request for comment by Business Insider, and Burger King's press representative said in a statement that the company contacted the franchisee facing these violations immediately upon learning of them, and they have informed us that they are looking into the findings of the investigation, have implemented measures such as retraining their management teams related to the work hours of miners and putting ongoing audits in place, and are working are on additional actions based on the investigation. So, Campbell's office also said in the same press release that it reached a settlement with 2 owners of 19 Popeyes locations across Massachusetts. See, there's the consolidation of control.
Well, exactly, and arguably less oversight over what's happening, but that doesn't mean they're not responsible for it either. But it's one thing if you're sitting there watching it happen.
Right. But somebody is watching it happen, right? Management or somebody is actually watching it happen. So it is what it is. $213,000, I'm rounding up, in citations against the operators, but it's 2 owners of 19 locations. It could be a couple, for crying out loud, and they call it 2 owners.
Well, that's true.
But a lot of, in relationship owners are actually, they're like married or whatever, but they do it separately so that liability is not going to blast them both out of existence at the same time. Perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, separate assets and stuff like that. If I get tired of your crap, I can get a divorce and take half of the Popeyes. That kind of a thing.
These are probably unrelated owners.
Sure. So in federal fiscal year 2023, the Department of Labor found nearly 5,800 kids employed in violation of the law, which the agency said was an 88% increase in the number of children employed in violation since 2019. But again, Department of Labor Department actually found just over 4,000 minors employed in violation of the law in federal fiscal year 2024. Nobody learns. Want to keep moving?
No, I guess not. I mean, you'd think every time one of these news articles comes out, somebody would be like, people are paying attention to this. I mean, that should not be the only thing stopping them from this. It also said they weren't even paying for hours worked. I mean, there's other issues here too.
Yeah, because they don't have, they didn't allow some workers to use their accrued sick time. They scheduled it during prohibited hours and had them work beyond the daily and weekly hour limits. But this is a new ideology, by the way. I mean, everything old is new again. And so these kids are going to become the equivalent of chimney sweeps and coal miners, being able to be the coal mine, bird, canary in a coal mine. And now Hyundai had been audited for this in the past. We've done articles on that, or we've reported on other people's reporting on the articles.
One of their suppliers, I think.
Yeah. But there's somebody is cognizant of it, and they are preying on the people. I mean, that's just the nature of this. Let's keep going. So the next article is over on Non Sequitur News as well. You can take a selfie on with the Earth using this YouTuber satellite. Now, I actually saw this earlier, and it's good that we found it in ohmTown. I think this is pretty neat. But Mark Rober has a video out where you can watch this taking place. So the stunt escalation on YouTube may have reached new heights, it says, with Mark Rober's offer to snap anyone's selfie with the planet using a satellite that he's launching into orbit with the help of Google and T-Mobile. I swear I facilitated a Kickstarter or something. I can't remember where it was. I thought that ohmTown took part in this group effort to do something similar to this, but I don't know. Maybe this is I know that this is different though. So the stunt escalation, right? So Rober is a former NASA engineer who made a name for himself on YouTube by glitter bombing porch pirates and creating the world's largest super soaker, and then building an obstacle course for squirrels, and not to mention, I think it's called elephant toothpaste explosions.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, he's done lots of stunts based on science.
Yeah, so science stunts. Um, and it's never really involving people other than the glitter bombing, but he was a victim of glitter bombing along with a bunch of other people. Well, now he's merging his interests with the launch of a satellite that can take photos. So yeah, this is a mock-up apparently of the Earth selfie from YouTuber Mark Rober. It's over at The Verge. Andrew J. Hawkins put the article together, and the deck statement says Mark Rober is teaming up with Google and T-Mobile to launch a satellite into orbit for Earth selfies. And that's apparently what it's going to look like. There is a video called My New Selfie Can Take Your Selfie from Space. Or no, sorry. My New Satellite Can Take Your Selfie from Space. So you basically throw a picture up there, and then it's got a camera pointed at the screen.
Well,
and
that's fun.
That is, yeah. The satellite is scheduled to be launched by SpaceX in January 2025 aboard the Transporter 12 mission, and is set to start taking selfie photos a few months after that. Yes, it's a total gimmick. While Rober and T-Mobile are advertising the opportunity as free, I regret, and the author regrets, to inform you that there are some strings attached. You'll need to subscribe to Crunch Labs, which offers engineering build kits for kids, and they actually have an adult one. To get the free code for the satellite selfie, Crunch Labs subscriptions run between $25 and $80 annually. $25 and $80 annually? That can't be right. That seems
that
really
sound
low.
right. Like maybe you can get like 1 month
One?
or something. I don't know.
Depending on the selected package. So existing T-Mobile subscribers can also get a free code via the T-Life app, and Google Pixel customers are being offered codes as well. And the codes can be redeemed starting December 3rd at spaceselfie.com. Interesting. I mean,
This is fun.
Yeah, I have absolutely no problem with this, other than it's going to turn into debris in orbit, right? And it's going to be somebody else's problem to deal with.
Well, yeah. Hopefully he has a good way to deorbit it.
Yeah, no, they never do. Let's move on. So the next article is over on the Mobile Channel. You can meet Elphaba and Glinda at the Universal Studios Orlando Wicked Experience. Let's go straight on over to the source. Sabina Graves over at Gizmodo.com put this article together. I don't think that this is from this isn't the two from Wicked, the show. It's a Travis Shamockery. They're just stand-ins.
Oh, okay. These are the characters.
Yeah, Elphaba and Glinda. So it says, it being the season of giving means that not only are visits to theme parks and immersive experiences a part of the holiday fun, but the merch game is intensifying. Just take a look at what Wicked is up to at Universal Studios. So you can go to the Wicked Experience. There's a video for it, but they actually just kind of hop right on over this and get into the merch side of things.
Well, it is holiday shopping season.
So you can take a look at the Oz vibes inside the Wicked experience at Universal Studios Orlando, courtesy of theme park content creators Park Hop. Here's a peek into the shopping destination filled with rooms that immerse visitors in Shiz and Emerald City themed rooms. Okay, so Shiz is like the music or something like that. Let me just pull something up right. So in Gregory Maguire's 1995 novel Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, Shiz is both a city in Gillikin County of Oz and a university therein. I read somewhere that Shiz is something else, but I think it's in a completely different movie. It has to do with music or something like that. So I just merged them all together. But now you know exactly what Shiz is in Wicked. If you never knew, I never knew until just now definitively what it was, apparently. So they kind of jump straight into the gift ideas. There's a video, though. The Wicked experience at Universal Orlando is embedded in this article. I've already thrown all of the article links through ohmTown into the chat, so you can follow that over on Twitch. And on YouTube, it's in the show notes right now, so you can just click on those as we run down them. You'll get to visit the same pages that we are showing you. So you can get a bunch of stuff, and that's really where the money is. It ain't the movie.
Right, it's all about the merchandising.
Merch. Spaceballs lampooned that, by the way. We need more Spaceballs movies. I'm surrounded by assholes. Anyway, do you want to go through any of this stuff? I mean, yeah, it's just a big conglomeration.
Right. I mean, there's a monogram luggage trunk. I mean, that would be kind of cool, particularly if you were getting into costume or something.
Yeah, I suppose so.
And it looks like they have all kinds of accessories, crowns and wands.
The Noble Collection has hats, crowns, wands, brooms, and more replicas for kids and adults to accessorize their Wicked costumes for Halloween next year. All right, well, you can follow the link, go and check it all out. Let's keep hustling through this. The next article is over on Reality Hacker, which is a show that's after this one today. The world's first ever all aluminum skis have arrived, so now you can actually kill people when you wipe out on the slopes.
What are existing skis made out of?
I thought that it's wood, laminated wood. So not only are these the first 100% recyclable set of skis, the innovative metallic construction makes this the most precise and environmentally friendly way to manufacture them. Oh no. Hopefully it lets me read it. But I have an account. I just didn't log in because I derped. That's okay. What is all that? Okay, well, anyway. Cameron Martindale over at Wired.com put this article together. And it says here that if you're a ski history fanatic, you might balk at this title of the article. In the 1940s, aluminum laminated skis with a wood core were coming about, but didn't take off until Howard Head jumped in the game. Pardon me. I'm so sorry. After his own challenge in learning to ski on hickory planks in Vermont, he put his aircraft manufacturing experience working for the Glenn L. Martin Company to use, and he wrapped 2 sheets of aircraft-grade aluminum around a core of honeycomb plywood with plastic sidewalls. Howard called it the Head Standard and launched the Head Ski Company in 1950. Oh, is that all of the article?
Well, I don't know if that's all of it, but...
Well, anyway. It's a bummer. Sorry, folks. You'll be able to go over there and check this all out.
It'll be interesting to see what this does to, like, skiing competitions and everything.
Yeah, these are actually end-to-end aluminum. There's no wood core, no plastic sidewall. And they say that you can recycle them, but you can recycle plywood all day long. Getting
Right.
microplastics out of nature is good. So if
Yes,
this
that
all
is a
works,
good thing. I suspect these will be faster, but I don't know.
yeah, really. I mean, as long as they're the same weight, then everything it should be better. If these don't flex like those do, like more or less, they flex the right way. Um, you don't have to worry necessarily about dinging these as easily, perhaps, or you have to worry like nobody's business, because if these things bend out of alignment, you're done. It's not like you can just
Right.
sit there and
It's not
straighten
like
them.
it'll never get back to the original.
Yeah, you might as well just go get a soda can. It's aluminum. So pretty cool. Unfortunately, I won't be able to root around in this article much. So let's just keep going. And we've got another article that's going to impact us like that in a little bit. But that's okay. The articles, you can reach the articles themselves. We kind of gave you a little bit of a rundown of what it's about. And if you're interested, then you can go on over there. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Carrots and vegetable mix recall has health risk warning issued. 4 Earth Farms of Commerce, California is recalling multiple brands of carrot products and vegetable mixes in several states. I don't know why there's a snack recall video attached to this. It's always like there's just a little bit of whatever.
Well, there's always some recall video available.
Yeah. So the article's over at Newsweek. Newsweek. I'll be okay.
That's the competitor,
Yeah. From the whatchamacallit, Spiderwick Chronicles.
right?
It is the Spiderwick Chronicles News. No, Newsweek.com. Martha McCarty put the article together. And of course, this is E. coli again. It's a bacteria that can cause serious and sometimes fatal infections in young children, elderly people, and those with a weakened immune system, which is young children and elderly people. So I don't know why they don't. Well, I guess it's to drive home the point.
Right. And it's not, well, anyway,
Yeah.
those
So
groups aren't mutually exclusive.
I don't know. Some of the elderly act like children, and I've seen some pretty grumpy children, just like us old people. Anyway, the organic vegetable medley, conventional vegetable medley, and organic whole carrots in New Hampshire, Florida, California, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Illinois, and Colorado have been recalled over concerns that they're contaminated with E. coli. So if you get cramps or whatever, and you ate anything from 4 Earth Farms to date, go. Well, I mean,
You know what? I can't really figure out what these recalls is like. Okay, hopefully you know what you bought at the store, but how do
right?
you know what somebody used, like a restaurant or
True. Yeah, you have no
whatever?
idea, and sometimes I swear that one time I got just blasted by some. It was like a fruit cup or something like that, and right after that, we read about a recall, and I'm like,
Right, might have been that.
oh, it was a cantaloupe recall a while back. Yep, and I was feeling like garbage. And then that news rolled by, and we're like, poor
Check.
human, poor human, you're not going to feel well for a while. Anyway, 4 Earth Farms has voluntarily issued the recall out of an abundance of caution and based on information received from Grimway Farms Incorporated regarding the possible contamination of its product. So it's Grimway Farms, which it's in the name.
Exactly. Sounds rather dark.
Yeah, I want clinically sterile farms, I want. And by the way, E. coli actually comes by way of nutrients that are sprayed on the farm. It's basically from
Manure, fertilizer.
fertilizer. Yeah, and then not adequate cleaning, and becomes contaminated with bacteria. So, as I've heard from other people, oddly, very recently, this is why you wash all of your produce, because you don't know There was somebody that was streaming, I think it was like Farming Simulator 2025 or something like that. And they were talking about this because they were spraying fertilizer across their crop.
Well, at least they're educating their viewers while they're going.
Yep, exactly. And that was at 4 or something like a.m. this morning, I recall, because I was awake. I could not sleep. Anyway, all 4 Earth Farms items impacted by the announcement have been expired for more than 3 weeks.
Well, I mean, if you're on top of your expiration dates, that should be good news.
Yep. But people don't throw out their food. In fact, you are wasting food if you throw it out on the best buy date.
Right, because the best
Expirations.
buy is not like when you can't eat it.
Yeah, and the expiration date for many foods is literally a liability. Check the box to CYA. So you can keep stuff for years afterward. But the liability is if you do get sick because the whatever material etched the lining of your tin can, you can't hold them responsible because you did it beyond their. But it also is a stimulus thing. Hey, it's beyond the expiration date. Let's throw it out and buy new. Like those beer kits. Beer kits have like an expiration date of yesterday when you receive them. It seems
Right,
like
they're just being safe. But
yeah,
forget that. Just shoot past that date.
yeah, for the most part. But don't. I'm not an attorney, and if you want to sit there and worry about your food safety, then stick to the expiration dates that are on the products. Don't listen to goobers online.
Like in ohmTown.
Do your own research and choose your liability. It's like a NFL. You make the play or you make the call. They used to do that. Now they don't. Anyway, let's keep moving forward. This next article is over on Reality Hacker. The $60 billion potential hiding in your discarded gadgets. Rich nations mine just a fraction of e-waste, leaving $60 billion a year in critical metals wasting away in boxes and drawers. But in West Africa, a dangerous recycling work is thriving. A dangerous recycling work?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It's a weird thing. Anyway, I don't know if this is going to ding me because I'm not logged in. But anyway. So Vince Beiser over at Wired.com put this article together. Dangerous recycling work is thriving is what it says here in the deck statement. But in West Africa, a dangerous recycling work is thriving. So dangerous recycling work is thriving, not A. Just remove the A. Come on. Come on, AI.
Right.
So without a doubt, what ends up happening is e-waste gets sent to countries that don't have such great environmental controls. Why? Because they use caustic chemicals to remove metals like gold from electronics, and they clip off componentry and stuff like that for further recycling. And you can do that kind of stuff in the United States, but if you dump out that hot mess of a liquid and get caught, you're going to be in trouble because it's not environmentally friendly by any stretch. But these people in these countries, it says meet Baba Anwar in a crowded, chaotic market in the city of Lagos, Nigeria. He claims he is in his early 20s, but he looks 15 or 16, maybe all of 5 feet. He's wearing plastic flip-flop shorts and a filthy shirt that says Surf Los Angeles. So basically, they go around and they start clipping the componentry off of it, and then they run it through some liquids, caustic chemicals, acid, and stuff like that. And it says here in this article, millions of Americans, like the author, spent their workday on pursuits that lack any physical manifestation beyond the occasional hard copy book or memo or report. It's easy to forget about all the livelihoods that rely on machines and those that machines rely on metals torn from the earth. And yeah, most people in industrialized nations tend to not even be aware of this. And when
Right, or they don't even really want to be aware of it, right?
yeah, I mean, you don't want to know how the sausage is made. They talk about a Tesla Model S has as much lithium as up to 10,000 smartphones. That's in the battery pack. And then it has to be recycled upwards of 10 years after its manufacture. By that time, it has lost a considerable amount, about on average, about 20% of its battery capacity, because it loses 2% every year of its total, not of the remaining, but of the total 100%. So they say harvesting more of our energy from sunlight, wind is as crucial as that is, entails its own Faustian bargain. Capturing, transmitting, storing, and using the cleaner power requires a vast number of new machines like wind turbines, solar panels, switching stations, power lines, batteries, large and small. Let's see where this is going. We churn our e-waste and end up where we are now. But there are human beings. This is not automated. So they send it all to these other countries for disposal, but the disposal, right? Quote from
Right, may or may not do what was expected. And of course, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that are making it dangerous, toxic, etc.
But it's over there. So it's not a big deal, right?
No, that's not it.
Oh gosh, I got to take my sociopath hat off, right? So the harm is staggering. Metal mining in America is America's leading toxic polluter. It has sullied the watersheds of almost half of the rivers in the American West. Chemical leaks and mining runoff foul air and water. The mines also generate mountains of hazardous waste stored behind dams that have a terrifying tendency to fail. Torrents of poisonous sludge pouring through collapsed tailings dams, and that's what a tailings pool is. And in some places, the liquid that is used in the mine is thrown into this pool, and it's actually designed to filter the sediment down to the bottom, and then they kind of scrape the stuff to capture what is in solution by pouring chemicals into these tailings pits.
Right, and most of these chemicals are not very
they're just
nice.
Disgusting. Yeah. So to get what they're after, mining companies devour natural resources on an epic scale. They dig up 250 tons of ore and waste rock to get to 1 ton of nickel. For copper, the ratio is double that. To obtain metals outside or inside your 4.5 ounce iPhone, 75 pounds of ore had to be pulled up, crushed, smelted, released. But I hear the voices now, not just the ones in my head. Well, we need to do this stuff if we're going to move forward as a society.
Yes, to a point, but are we doing worse things in the name of doing better things?
Mining firms also suck up massive quantities of water and deploy fleets of drill rigs, trucks, diggers, and other heavy machinery that collectively belch out up to 7% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. There's one chemical, and I can't remember what it is, that's something like 40% or something like that of the greenhouse gases. Do you remember that one company that we were talking about? What was it?
But I don't remember what it was.
I can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember either. At least 320 anti-mining activists have been killed worldwide since 2012, and they are just the ones that we know about. This happening in critical metal mines across the United States, in addition to Brazil, Canada, Philippines, Serbia, and many other countries. There are protests that take place, and then these anti-mining activists are deleted.
Right, they're getting in the way of money.
Yeah, getting in the way of money. Let's not pretend that this is about moving society forward. That is a side effect.
Well, it might be on the activist side, but yeah.
Right. So all this said, while researching their book, Power Metal, they were surprised to learn that the mining industry no longer gets away, not as easily anyway, with much of the nasty behavior it's been known for. But everything old is new again. So let's see if Power Metal actually gets an addendum digitally. Some collateral damage is inevitable, but a growing awareness of the industry's history of human rights abuses and dirty environmental practices, as well as public pressure on consumer-facing companies like Apple and Tesla to clean up their supply chains, has made some of the real improvements in how big mining firms operate. So, yeah, they keep on just kind of breaking this stuff down more and more until it's nothing but a PCB and contacts, and then they throw it. You can actually search for this on YouTube, and there are people far and wide that do this exact same thing at a smaller level to extract gold from the contacts inside electronics, and other heavy metals, cadmium, nickel, silver, copper, and whatchamacallit.
It's a long list.
Yeah, the
Titanium?
catalyst. Titanium is hard to extract. But what is it? It's in catalytic converters. Oh goodness, my brain just went. Anyway, so yeah, they
Is
just
it copper?
no. It's the reactive agent inside. It's a metal that's inside catalytic converters.
Platinum, palladium, rhodium.
All of that. Yeah, platinum is really expensive. Palladium is in it as well. But this is the rare earth minerals, rare earth metals that go into these various things. It is the thing that captures exhaust, carbon monoxide, and acts as a catalyst. Yes, we have, if you can hear it, we have frogs in ohmTown. Just picture we are walking down ohmTown's main street, and sometimes we end up in a swamp. We're about 60% through our walk so far. This article is considerably longer than I'll be able to give it kind of the attention it deserves. But in a nutshell, what ends up happening is they either sell the electronic components or they break it down into the composite materials. And it says the problem of rich countries dumping e-waste on poorer ones has received plenty of attention over the past couple of decades, but in West Africa and other parts of the developing world, most e-waste is now generated domestically. The gadgets passing through Abu Bakar's facility were largely imported as new or refurbished products sold to Nigerian consumers. By the way, Nigeria has apparently an amazing technology footprint. Apparently in some regions, extremely fast internet, reliable, etc. I thought that it was amazing when I heard these stats about stuff in Nigeria. But anyway, it's sold to Nigerian consumers and then later discarded. Relatively little goes to waste. If you live on $2 a day, after all, making a dime from discarded electronic toothbrush is worth your effort. The result is that about 75% of Nigeria's e-waste is collected for some kind of recycling. In nearby Ghana, estimates run as high as 95%.
That's spectacular. I had no idea those rates were so high. And I also didn't know that so much of that was internally generated. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So nearly 239 million U.S. adults have a smartphone. At current rates, only 15% of them will get recycled. All told, these phones contain about $1 billion in critical metals, including 4,600 tons of copper, 263 tons of lithium, that's part of the battery, 92 tons of silver, 9 tons of gold, 4 tons of palladium. And that's just on the iPhone 15, apparently.
Wow. Yeah,
Pretty
multiply that times every other product out there, and
yep. Wow. All right. This article, again, is quite a bit longer than I can give it time. So follow the link over to this Wired article, and you'll find that there's something in here that is directly attributable to everyone. There isn't a single thing in here that doesn't apply to other people and then saying, oh, it only applies to them, not me, is doing yourself and society a disservice.
Well, and
So,
also just even understanding the connection of where your product came from and where it goes is important, and most people don't have a real sense of that.
yeah. So I try to resell my products that I purchase instead of throwing them away, recycle wherever I can. Um, but your region may not have recycling centers and there may not be services available easily. And that friction is what causes recycling to suffer. Not to mention the complexity, because you can sit there and throw away a pizza box because you have to throw away a pizza box because recycling a pizza box isn't effective because of the oils that are embedded in the pizza box itself contaminates the paper. So it becomes basically a sludge, a toxic sludge that can't be recycled. Depending on what the oil is, and since you don't know what it is, you can't really just assume that it's going to work out just fine. So let's keep on going. The next article is over on the Marble Channel. Why timekeeping is now on the verge of a giant leap forward in accuracy. Time is vital to the functioning of our everyday lives. From the watches on our wrists, oh, no watch, to the GPS system in our phones, communication systems, power grids, financial transactions all rely on precision timing. All of the network technology that exists is based on precision timing. Seconds are the vital units of measurement and timekeeping, but I think while they say seconds are the vital units, we actually go down a lot further. Vittorio Aida, I think, from the conversation, put the article together, and it shows a Pixabay image of a timepiece, a pocket watch. I love skeleton pocket watches and watches in general where you can see the inner workings from the outside. I love this
Yes,
stuff.
and you could also watch, like, it's interesting to watch videos of people who take these apart and all, just seeing all the intricacies of
Yeah.
the mechanics.
One person on YouTube is Wristwatch Revival. Started up a website with a partner, but they kind of passively teach how to take watches apart, because if you watch them, then you learn how to do it. But they also sell kits and stuff like that to get you started, because that's actually their hobby turned YouTuber turned full time, I think, doing that stuff. So I think I know that they do side gigs repairing watches and stuff, but they call it a hobby. They're very good at it though. So accurate timekeeping has always been part of humankind's social evolution. At the Neolithic monument of Newgrange in Ireland, a special opening above an entrance allows light or sunlight to illuminate the passage and the chamber on the shortest days of the year around December 21st, the winter solstice. Some 2,300 years ago, Aristotle said that the revolution of the outermost sphere of the heavens should be the reference for measuring time. The great philosopher believed that the cosmos was arranged into concentric spheres with Earth at the center, and that's the geocentric, the Earth-centric kind of ideology instead of heliocentric. So water clocks, which appeared around 2000 BC, are among the oldest instruments for measuring time. They do this by regulating the flow of water into and out of a vessel, but it can be off wildly because you have to refill it.
Well, it's also inconvenient if you live in a cold climate.
No, you
Oh,
just
what time
sit
is it?
there.
I don't know. We can't check for the last 3 days since it froze.
Damn it, it's still Tuesday. So they say up to 1967, a second was defined as 1/86,400th of a day, with the 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute, etc. So the International System of Units then changed things, settling for this definition. So the second is defined by taking the transition frequency of the cesium-133 atom to be this, so 919.263.1770 when expressed in the unit hertz, which is equal to s to the -1. So it's as if you're a little
Well, this
confused.
is very technical.
Let's elaborate. So the higher transition frequency, the less a single misreading can derail the total accuracy. And if there are 50 transitions per second, the cost in terms of accuracy of miscounting one would be 100 times more severe than if there were 5,000. Well, there's what, hundreds, thousands, millions. So what, 9.2 billion, right? Yeah, just shy of 9.2 billion times. So you don't really, if you miscount one out of all of those times, it's not going to really screw things up too bad. So in order,
but it might over time.
Yeah, if you keep on sampling wrong, but that's not what happens. So atomic clocks use this technique to measure the transition frequency of atoms so precisely that they become standards for definition or defining the second. To achieve that precision, scientists need a reliability reference signal, that they obtain with something called a frequency comb. And so now they're going from atomic to nuclear clocks. Thorium-229, the atom used for this study, offers a nuclear transition that can be excited by ultraviolet light. The team working on the nuclear clock overcame the technological challenge of building a frequency comb that works at the relatively high frequency range of ultraviolet light. So I'm really curious what the actual frequency is. The thorium atom's transition has a frequency roughly 1 million times higher than that of cesium atoms. Wow. So this number, hold on. This number just got a whole lot bigger. And that's
right, but I don't know. So because it's so much higher, it can be that much more accurate?
Correct. Yeah, and any missed reading doesn't throw it off so much, as long as you don't, you miss a reading and then you don't read for a day. If you read and you get failed data or something like that, you can sample again, and you're that much closer to the original time frame of the original sample attempt. So you'll always know how far into that second you are. So yeah, but this is now a nuclear clock, which I find really fascinating because it's still a matter of nature defining what time is, whereas time is a construct of humans putting a flag down and taking a step, and putting a flag down and taking a step. In nature, it doesn't really exist, and nothing really cares about time. It just happens the way that it happens, right? Instinct is no other thing other than humans are looking at a clock. Everything else is looking at the sun. The amount of photons that enter an animal's eyes, just like us. Our internal clocks are apparently dictated to by photons hitting our eyes. So that's why we're supposed to get up in the morning early and go and sit out and have rising sun set appear on the horizon.
To reset our clocks or whatever.
Yeah, and then when we're going to go to bed, we literally watch the sunset so that we know that we're entering our night phase, but we throw it all off by, well, I've got 6 monitors staring at me.
What?
Yeah. And you are a sentient AI from the future, so you're nothing but data and sentience. So anyway, let's keep on going. This is a really interesting article, but we've its time has come. So moving on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. What no salary jobs could mean for the future of work. Jobs requiring you to pay to work at the company, like Zomato's recent listing, raises big questions about the future of work, experts told Newsweek. Is it a sales job? I mean, a contract worker, like a hair cutter,
Oh, you mean like a commission or something?
Well, I don't know what they're actually saying, what no salary jobs could mean for the future of work. And then this is
Either that
Sue
means
Kim.
hourly or like it's just a non-paid. It's like a volunteer.
Yeah, they
But it could
say
be
we've,
something else. I don't know.
no, they actually say that's what it's about. We've seen jobs with no pay in the form of internships to gain work experience. But what would you do if you had to pay to work at a company? Well, I can tell you from experience, there are some jobs out there that really kind of brush up against that. I don't want to get into it too deeply, but there are places where for you to work, you have to pay. Well, let me back up a little bit. So, if you're a hairstylist, you are a contractor that is leasing a seat in a facility, and you
Right.
pay them for the privilege of using their seat, but you still bring your equipment that you're familiar with, comfortable with, and you cut hair, other people's hair, but you pay basically a lease to use that seat. It's quite fascinating, right? So it says, sounds unreasonable, but the idea was proposed last week by the CEO of Zomato, the Indian food delivery company, who said that it was looking for a hungry worker with a learning mindset to fill the role of chief of staff for himself in a post on Twitter shared on November 20th. And this is so predatory. You are benefiting from it. Otherwise, you would not want somebody. You wouldn't need anybody. I don't
Exactly.
get
This
it.
is really bad.
So pay people a livable wage, even if you're training them. It's part and parcel to the idea that at some point, perhaps the bird will fly away because they've skilled up enough, and you can't pay them enough. But usually, well, we used to have loyalty both ways, but that's not how it is now. It's bred this, where this hot mess is you have to pay just to learn about something. It's very predatory, at least in my opinion. Zomato job posting comes amid an ongoing labor shortage in the U.S., where hiring rates have outpaced the quit rate since November 2020, the year of the onset of the COVID pandemic. Hiring rates have outpaced the quit rate. They're hiring more people than quitting?
Yeah,
No,
I mean, I guess that's good.
maybe a
That's
niche.
but that's because everybody's desperate for a position because they can't afford to buy anything.
So, more than 44 million Americans have quit their job in 2023, with 3.4 million having quit in January 2024 alone. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce reported in November 2024 the employment industry has seen some seismic shifts since the pandemic, such as the Great Resignation, which has now evolved into the Great Reshuffle, with workers seeking and finding better opportunities with new employers and in new occupations and industries. Of course, there are people that are that think that they can hire somebody that is better than the person that is leaving because somebody might be hungry, and that's sociopathic too. Um, so, yeah, at some point, a person gets priced out based on their skill development, knowledge, capabilities, right? KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities. But it's usually predatory in the reverse. They leave because they've developed enough skills and they think that they are worth more, and then the hiring authority of when they leave goes, we can get somebody better, and they charge less. They suppress the wages. This is pretty standard conversation, by the way. When an MBA CEO comes into power in a business, they suppress wages and concentrate wealth into the C-suite. And that's actually admired by shareholders, stockholders. So when
I'm sure it
contacted,
is.
yeah, I mean, consolidating wealth and control, sure.
Money,
So,
money, money.
yep. The CEO of Zomato promised that the chief of staff job would offer 10 times more learnings than a 2-year degree from a top management school, working with me and some of the smartest folks in consumer tech. Okay, so if you're so badass, why aren't you making enough money to actually pay somebody? Right? Well, it's because they want somebody that's going to prove to be dedicated to the blah, blah, blah.
It's just unbelievable.
Yeah. As I've been told countless times by people when I ask certain questions, they respond with, I think I can win the game, but it's not a game.
Well,
Um,
and people are already taking pay cuts left and right because of the increasing rise of any anything, healthcare, groceries,
yeah.
rent.
Yep. So, according to the Post, charging people to work for him was never part of the plan and was merely a filter to attract people who appreciate the opportunity of a fast track career. So, it's kind of like, hey, you're looking for a good home for that dog, but you don't want to get just anybody. So, you put a $2,000 price tag on it, not necessarily realizing that you're pricing out people who could be absolutely wonderful. Um,
Yeah, that's true. And then also, in this instance, they're actually charging the people, right? They're not just using it for some sort of screening, which I
right.
agree, there's a disparate treatment issue in there. But like I don't know. If you need a job, you don't have money to pay to get a job.
Right. Or your pennies, and now you are an indentured servant because you have to get the skill set long enough for you to bow out. What's going to end up happening is you're going to get this skill set and then leave. So why are you paying them? Why not? If you're looking for the person to fill this position, why would you pay them so that they have animosity? They're like, screw you, I paid for this. You're not my mentor. You're not a teacher. You're
Yeah,
nothing
what
more
good
than,
comes out of this
yeah.
on either side of this?
Yeah. And that right there is the sociopathic part. If you're really hungry for success, you'll find a way to make opportunities like this work, he said, adding that if you're resourceful and determined, the door doesn't close. It just takes a little effort to push it open. This is either a person who was born into opportunity, or they've gone full, sociopathic and forgotten what it's like to have to struggle. And they think that everybody should have to go through that struggle, shit rolls downhill kind of a thing. So I don't know. To me, it seems pretty abusive. But again, this article, it's over at Newsweek, is quite extensive. And it says here that Zamato's job proposal highlights a growing trend where companies appeal to purpose-driven talent by offering access to exclusive opportunities rather than immediate paychecks. And this is the second time I've heard somebody offering a position that is salary free, but if you're dedicated, you can go and work for what is now this bullshit office in the incoming administration, because you have to be passionate and not get paid. But maybe it'll usher in the era of kickbacks where you're going to get paid back on the other side, behind the scenes, under the table kind of bullshit. Anyway, meanwhile, by the way, federal government employees and anybody that's paid by the federal government can't benefit from their position directly. If you're a civil servant, if you work in public education, you can't benefit from your existence as that, in that status. But if you work for like Harvard or whatever, who does get federal grants and whatnot for research, you're not considered any of that, and you can fund a startup. Google was funded, it was grant funded by DARPA, then spun off as a private industry. But angel investors from within the institution, for Sergey Brin, invested in Google and are now billionaires. But you can't do that if you work in public education or if you're a civil servant, because you have insider information. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. So the next article is over on Non Sequitur News. Return fraud is costing retailers billions. A new AI program can spot the scammers and send back counterfeits. So Lacoste is using AI tech Vri to detect counterfeit returns. Return fraud costs retailers billionaires, with billions lost globally. Amazon and other retailers face scams exploiting return policies for financial gain. I don't know how they're doing financial gain this way unless they're sending back these counterfeits, which is what we witness.
Right, or they're doing some sort of steal it and then exchange it or something like we saw in the other scam, and I can't remember which brand it was, Lululemon.
Right. So Lakshmi Varanasi over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. And it says here, French luxury brand Lacoste is using Varai, developed by Cyfeme, a leader in anti-counterfeit artificial intelligence, to catch scammers returning counterfeit items. But if it's returning the item, what are you going to do? Kill the account? Great, but they've already scammed you out of the return.
Or they're not going to send you the money.
But by the time it's caught, I suppose it's already done, right? So it says, trained on thousands of images of genuine merchandise, Varai aims to distinguish real products from fakes with 99.7% efficiency or accuracy. By the way, you have to open the package and look at it. So if it's still sealed up, how do you know? At its warehouses, Lacoste employees can snap a picture of a returned item with Varai and verify its authenticity. Clothing, it's easy mode. How much of that is actually fraudulent? The technology combats return fraud, basically exploiting return and refund processes for financial gain. This would have to be opened, a box full of bricks.
Right, unless they're like x-raying it or something.
Which is a different animal and wouldn't show the outside of any of the packages. So yeah, sure, you can do that. X-raying is pretty damn expensive. Total returns for the retail industry come to $743 billion in merchandise in 2023. How much of that is recirculated back into the system, though? You know what I'm saying? Returns doesn't. Is that the package was opened and blah blah blah, and the condition is questionable?
Or is it the value of the items? Right.
Regardless. So returns are returns. It's part of doing business, and not all of the returns are actually returned in a form that can't be sold. Major retailers are frequent targets of such scams. In July, Amazon filed a lawsuit accusing Telegram of basically stealing 10,000 items through fraudulent returns. Members of the group fabricated stories to convince Amazon customer service to refund their accounts, sometimes even using falsified police reports, which, well, it's illegal.
Criminal?
So,
right.
Yeah. So U.S. retailers lost a little over $100 billion in return fraud, or around $13.70 for every $100 returned, up from $10.40 per $100 in 2022. So retail returns 743. Of that, 1/7, less than 1/7, is fraud.
That seems very high.
Yeah, I agree. So, of course, now you're going to end up to the no return refunds policy that allows customers to get refunds without physically returning items, an option many retailers have implemented to reduce return costs for both themselves and consumers.
Yeah, but doesn't that just exacerbate the problem?
Yeah, but there's a certain limit at some point. It says, according to a federal indictment, the group exploited a no return refund. At some point, because they have to be creating new accounts and obfuscating their identities and stuff like that. That is where the problem is, because anybody can create anything. And in the desire to get as many people on board, they have this freewheeling, create an account and, a different credit card here or a fraudulent whatever. I don't know. Then they transfer the account out, or the funds out, if there's a holding account somewhere, and you never find out who it really is. But I don't know. There seems to be a lot of arcane language being used, or I should say a black box, not really explaining what is going on here. Because if somebody does a return, it's tied to an account. If they go into a
Right,
place.
and isn't it going to a physical or from a physical mailing address? So I know those could be false, but at some point, if the same address shows up or the same email or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, there isn't anything else in this article, but you can go and check it out. They make this obvious. They have a picture. Oversized crocodiles have met their match with Varai AI counterfeit technology. That's because they've blown this thing up.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's
So that's
actually
supposed
a
to be an
tiny little thing.
indicator that that's not actually the real thing.
Legit. Yeah. All right. Let's keep going, though. The last article for today's Non Sequitur News is over in Non Sequitur News. It's in the name. Hey. Kansas County sues ExxonMobil and Chevron over alleged false claims about recyclability of plastics. And this isn't going to go anywhere. This is going to go nowhere. Nowhere.
But I am fascinated because you don't normally see a county going after these mega corporations.
Yeah. So the Kansas County has sued. This is Ford County, Kansas, has filed a lawsuit against a group of companies, including ExxonMobil. The county has sued a group of companies alleging false representations about plastic recyclability. Energy giants ExxonMobil and Chevron are among the defendants named in the lawsuit, and the lawsuit alleges that a decades-long campaign of fraud and deception about the recyclability of plastics, not to mention the creation of nano and microplastics and the damage that it's causing to the environment and to people. There is probably not a single person on the planet that doesn't have nano and microplastics somewhere within their bodies, including their brain and other bits.
Think of where you would not want those, and they're probably there.
Yep. So, let's see here. Accusing them of false representation to the public regarding the recyclability. So, Natalie Musumeci put this article together for BusinessInsider.com. They don't have a deck statement, but they have these takeaway summary kind of things, which is what we've been talking about. All of this, the lawsuit alleges, has harmed the citizens of Kansas. The lawsuit filed in U.S. District Court for the District of Kansas alleges that the petrochemical company's false representations around the recyclability of plastics has resulted in higher production levels of plastic products, more demand for them, inflated prices for plastic products, as well as the issue with plastic waste remediation. Frankly, this is a non-starter because they've been saying what they know about plastic. It isn't until relatively recent that the public has become aware. Now, if there's a smoking gun somewhere around plastic misrepresentation, then wonderful. But they say that the case is about the defendant's profit-driven decision to promote the idea to the American consumer that plastics were recyclable and better for the environment, when in reality they had information that only a tiny fraction of plastics were ever recycled. But we've known this because we don't have effective recycling systems in place.
I cannot quite figure this out. This appears to be a county with only a small city. Like, it's very interesting. There must be something specifically located in that county that is driving this, but maybe not.
Yeah, and it doesn't really say anything.
Maybe they have like a ton of waste in their landfill or something that they know is from these companies. I don't know.
Yeah. Or there's somebody that's chomping at the bit to get their name seen. The lawsuit seeks an undisclosed amount in damages, as well as an injunction to enforce the companies no longer advertise their plastic products as recyclable, but they are recyclable, so you're actually hindering their ability to say their product is recyclable. It absolutely is. You just have to jump through certain hoops, depending on the type of plastic.
Right, some is more or less, or easier, or cheaper, or whatever.
Yeah. Now, if we would figure out a mill of glass that is both recyclable and sturdy enough to use, everybody should switch over to glass, because you're not getting micro and nano glass particles in humans because it's crystalline, it's stuck together, and it's not going to break off under temperatures. It might shatter under intense heat, depending on the shock that it in the strain, but it's more likely to be dropped and break, which is that just sucks. So that's why it actually left, because you can drop a plastic bottle, and if anything, you'll just impart more nano and microplastics into your drink. Yeah. Anyway, globally, about 9% of plastic is actually recycled, according to a 2022 report from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Yeah. And that's because we are friction bound. We don't want to deal with recycling because it's difficult and painful. When I have to sit there and check out the gender of the bottle that I'm trying to decide, does it go in this bin or that bin? Is it recyclable or not? And there's 15 different types. And, I mean, we've got kind of a shitstorm of plastic because we've created it.
We've embraced it.
Yeah.
We think plastic things are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So
they're cheap, or they're disposable, or they're this or that.
And it floats off in the ocean to some other country, so it's no longer our problem. Anyway. So what we're going to do is open up a bottle of plastic whoop ass, and that's going to bring us to the front page of ohmTown.com, where you should go and become a citizen. Be sure to like and subscribe over on YouTube and follow us here on Twitch. You can actually subscribe to us here on Twitch now, but not over on YouTube. We're growing over there, but we would benefit from you subscribing here on Twitch and over on YouTube, and like and subscribe everywhere, including the podcast and Patreon, although there isn't anything on there right now. I removed a bunch of stuff, and I need to rejigger things to make it make more sense. The number of podcasts that we put together, number 6. Okay, there's 6. Hold on, 6 weekly. And then there's a daily one, which is the main driver for ohmTown. We've gone beyond the distribution system of Patreon right out of the gate. So I either put everything in one feed, and then people have to filter through 7 weekly and daily podcasts, right? We have 1 daily podcast. So in a week, you get 7 of them. Every day there's 1 that drops. And then on the weekend, you get 6 that drop. So it's kind of messy in your podcatcher. So the only real way to do it is to subscribe to them with a podcatcher, not through Patreon. And so if you subscribe in Patreon, it's 1 long stream. But you can go to wherever you want to catch pod and subscribe to each individual show. Unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast, at least until we get big enough where we can move from Patreon over to another platform. It's easier to manage, but more complex on the administrative side for a brief moment. And then once it's online and operational, it's easy for the consumer, for our viewers, for our listeners. But anyway, it's neither here nor there, but it is a non sequitur. Anyway, how about them Padres? That's it. I'm saying bye. And you, sentient AI, should too.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We'll have another episode for you tomorrow, but stay tuned for our weekly shows.
Reality Hacker, and then Wanted, and then the Continuity Report. So you'll get to hear about some high tech that's manipulating reality, and then a bunch of gadgets and gear, and then some entertainment news. All news, no noise, except in the shows. See you later.